What's up, everybody? Happy Monday, happy Investor Empowerment Day. Welcome to Traders Edge Crypto, where we trade crypto live. My name is Lawton Ho, and I'm joined by head trader Benjamin Pulio and Drew Dosek. Can't hear you guys.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Great to have you guys. Good
And
to see you
Drew?
guys.
Hey, there we go. Hey, everybody. Hope you guys are doing well. Welcome to Investor Empowerment Day with our beautiful live session that we've got going on.
Yeah, so for those of you who are new, the way this works is we're going to do our best to find crypto live day trading trades, and they're going to be looking at the charts while I'm going to be monitoring the chat. Feel free to leave your questions down below. I'll do my best to answer those questions, but remember, we're focused specifically on cryptocurrency, and we'll be live for the next hour or so. And if you want to be able to trade just like the pros, we're sponsored and happily sponsored by Blowfin. Blowfin is the exclusive cryptocurrency exchange that we use here at Verified Investing. Not only can you go long, you can go short, and you can trade with up to 150 times leverage, which is a little
Risky.
scary. But I mean, that's what crypto is. Additionally, if you want to learn more about that, you can scroll all the way to the bottom of our homepage and click on Blowfin. So if you scroll all the way to the bottom, it should say our sponsors, and you can click on that Blowfin, get started, and a special promotion we're having now for the next week. We're going to have some sign-up bonuses if you sign up and trade using our affiliate link. So definitely something you want to get in on. All right, before I hop into the questions, guys, what are you guys seeing in the crypto markets? What's going on?
Well, right now we see a lot of the crypto markets just kind of floating up. We had some volatility over the weekend with Bitcoin piercing underneath $100,000. A lot of the altcoins were also hit too, really falling down quite nicely on the charts. You can see on several of these, but mainly let's just look at Bitcoin. You can see Bitcoin caught support. I've got this beautiful inclining parallel channel right here, and Bitcoin caught support right at the bottom into that parallel. And this was on Sunday. And that was really the pinnacle of all the selling that was taking place in the crypto space. Since then, we've bounced up. We're trying to chop along this area. We'll see if we can push up a little bit higher into the resistance. But right now, a reflex bounce off of the technical support area displayed on the chart. What are you seeing there, Ben?
Just basically what you're talking about. The one that's really moving is movement, MOVE, USDT. So let me go ahead and switch to my charts. Share my screen. Here's the chart of movement. So it had a nice bounce off the lows right here. It never got down to 102. You have a lot of support in this area. It's a previous green bar candle, 102.47. However, it's got a nice bounce right now. So it's actually coming into some resistance. It's up about 30%. It was up a little bit higher. But see this trend line? You start this pivot at 1998, hits this pivot right here at 1786. And then if it gets up to 1650 today, this is a place that I would be interested in shorting this for a day trade. So this is what I'm looking at currently on my charts. Other than that, there's not a whole lot. Everything is bounced significantly off the bottom. So I'm on the daily charts. If I reset this, you've got MOG that was pretty down, Phantom that actually got below all-time lows, at least on this chart, AKT, AIOZ. So we've had a continual fall on the altcoins. I will say that one thing that's interesting to me is Bitcoin dominance. If we check out the Bitcoin dominance chart, you're actually up in this upsloping parallel channel on the Bitcoin dominance chart. And if we get up a little bit higher, this up to this basically 67.46 as far as percentages, then this could be the start of another altcoin rally, especially if we look at Bitcoin. So here's the Bitcoin charts. If we can get above this or stay above 100,000, then we're going to run significantly on the altcoins. At least that's what I see. As far as day trading levels, though, that's the only one that's currently on my radar, was movement. If it heads up a little bit higher, just because everything is so beaten down on the charts. but we did have a nice bounce.
Makes
From,
sense. Well,
yeah.
Ben's got movement, folks. I've got Polygon. I'm interested in Polygon at a Pierce basically of $17. Currently at 17,218. So if we get down under $17, you can see I've got an order right here in Blowfin. And just as a reminder, too, folks, Lawton did mention about the promos going on. Anybody that deposits money this week and also trades this week into next week will qualify for those rewards. And it all depends on the amount of money that you deposit, but you will be getting kickback rewards following this promotion with Blowfin. So if you're interested in it, or if you already have an account, deposit some cash and trade this week, you'll be rewarded nicely for it.
So
Yep,
that's
and
definitely the requirements is to deposit and trade, and that goes till the 7th actually of July.
Yep.
yeah, and for those of you interested, I see some questions about Blowfin. I'm going to answer really quickly. Do you need a VPN to trade Blowfin? No, you don't. Do you have Trading View connected to Blowfin? Is that an easy setup? So we don't actually have our Trading View connected to Blowfin, but Blowfin is integrated with Trading View already. So you see there on, I believe those are Drew's charts. Those charts are provided by Trading View. So it's the same platform pretty much. Your tools are going to be similar. So if you're familiar with the way Trading View works, you should have no problem on Blowfin. So you guys don't have any trades yet, right? You guys good for some questions?
Yeah, let's fire them away. Yeah, because right now we're kind of in just like a little bit of a middle ground area. Since we did bounce up from yesterday, we want price to be extended high enough to be able to short, and we're not quite there yet. So any little pullbacks, I'd be more interested in than shorting, since we haven't bounced quite enough yet. So yes.
Okay, cool. Let's see here, and yeah, that promotion's running from June 23rd, which is today, until July 7th. And let me look here. Okay. So VHab saying, can you give accurate TA on Ethereum and Sol with on the 1 minute chart? So for a day trade,
for the day
Ethereum or
trade.
Solana for a day trade on the 1 minute chart.
All right. First up, whenever you're looking for a day trade, you've got to zoom back to the daily chart. And you know, I want to I'll preface this by saying, you know, with this bounce, and it's exemplified right here, very much like how Bitcoin, we bounced up. And so right now you really wouldn't be interested in shorting Ethereum just because it hasn't bounced enough. And this is very educational for everybody. You don't, just because we day trade doesn't mean we always have to be in a day trade. You got to wait for those levels to set up the probabilities in your favor. So you may see us like today, we may not get into a day trade, and that's the discipline that's required to be a sufficient and successful day trader. But as far as breaking down this chart, we can see here Ethereum has fallen from this pivot low. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days of movement down. This is something I go over in the Mastering the Overnight Trade, the sleeper hold, and it's also gone over in the Winter Trader series. Time counts are crucial to understanding where support areas are going to be. We've got promos on those courses today. Check it out. It's valuable information that'll last you your entire trading career. So we see, though, that Ethereum got a bounce right up prior to this major support level right here at 2141. So the first area that I would be interested in day trading Ethereum is if we get a rapid movement up into this trend line, roughly about $2,400. You notice here, I'm not just trading intraday just because there may be a small pattern change. I'm waiting for the probabilities to get into my favor so that we have price coming back up into these low pivots and this inclining trend line. That would be the first area where I would see a lot of the probability stacked in my favor to get into a short on Ethereum. Right now, I would not be interested in it. Now, we see in the 10-minute chart, we're starting to have price come back in and curl over, but it's catching support right here on these pivots. So again, not too much movement for me to keep me interested. Now, one other thing I do see, though, we're starting to have some bear flag formation, and then we'll see if this ends up being more bear flag formation. We could come right back down and consolidate in this area right around 2250 on Ethereum. Again, nothing that I would be inclined to go ahead and get into a day trade with. Do you see something different there, Ben?
I'm checking out the Solana chart.
Gotcha.
But no, it's not on its highs. It's not at its lows right now. So on Ethereum, I didn't really see anything.
And I
I can
switched
actually,
over to your charts, Ben, on Solana.
yeah, I see that. So I'm going to go over Ethereum real quick. So you've got this basically two $2,819 level that was a lot of resistance. So if it gets down to 1951, I have a lot of support in this general vicinity. So that would be the first place that I would be really interested. Basically a pierce of $2,000. This is more of a swing long, but right now it is looking oversold. So if it does get in that level, this would be great. So let me switch to the 1 minute charts. And like Drew was showing you, you're just kind of in no man's land right here. It doesn't give you any advantage. You are facing a little support right here at 2265. However, if you start breaking that support level, then you're likely to roll over. Could go down to this next support level at 2245. But if it does get close down to the double bottom at 2232 for a day trade, I would be interested in possibly picking it up. So whenever I say that, it's all dependent on time. It needs to flush into that level in order for me to be really interested in it. But if it takes time and it starts to consolidate, basically like it did right here, then that actually favors an additional move down. So everything is subject to change. So if it happens at 3 p.m. and it just does some sideways consolidation, this level would be off the table. However, if it got there in the next 10 minutes or so, then yeah, I would definitely be interested in this based on the fact that it was a double bottom, nice reversal candle right here. So let's go over to the Solana chart. Okay, so here's what I have on Solana. I know you asked me about the 1 minute chart, but here's a head and shoulders pattern on Solana on the daily time frame. So Solana could come back all the way down to this low pivot about $95. This would be pretty close to the measured move. It's also starting to get a little bit oversold on the RSI. So if it gets down to 118.41, this would probably be where I would start a starter position. Now let's go to the intraday. It looks like it's kind of doing the same thing. Yeah. So Ethereum had a nice bounce, got up to 137.47, and now has rolled over. So this low pivot at 32.92, or basically a pierce of 33, may be a good level. It just doesn't have as much volume or velocity to the downside. Yeah, it's a 3% move on Solana. Altcoins can usually rip pretty high, so that wouldn't necessarily be a good level unless it just really flushed in there. I would actually like it to pierce this double bottom before I got interested. But you see all this choppiness right here. It could push lower if it ends up piercing this level and going down. So it's just, again, it's not a big enough move for me to really be interested in the moment. I was hoping
Cool.
movement would have, but go ahead.
Cool. So let's get into some more questions. Ronak saying, I have just come in to say how amazing you all are. I'm with you every day. I love it. Thank you, gents.
Yeah, what's up, Ronak?
And thanks
Glad
for
to
the
have you here.
kind words. Ivan saying, hi, Lawton. Do you know if it's possible to use Bluefin in the Netherlands? I'm not 100% sure. That's something you'd have to try for yourself. Krypton, got you. Thank you. Kyle says, is your crypto monthly subscription on sale or discounted during this promotional week for discounted courses? No, they're not. Our services are excluded from this promotion, but our courses are. And just like Drew said, you can absolutely use his sleeper hold course, mastering the overnight trade in both cryptocurrency, commodities, swing trading. It right stocks. It doesn't matter, right, Drew?
Correct. If you can chart it, the fundamentals that I teach in there, it's the first module. I highlight time, right? Time, Ben mentioned it just a moment ago. Time is one of the most important, I would almost say equally as important as the price on the stock. And when you're getting into a position, when you're exiting a position, time is imperative and something not really discussed too much in the trading world for understanding the best time to get in and the best time to get out. And if you have that tool, it's a critical tool to understand when making successful trades. So that's why, again, I had that as my first module, going over time counts on charts. Anybody interested in that, you'll find a wealth of information in that course.
Cool. And I just want to say a couple of people are asking for the link for Blowfin, and we'll go ahead and throw it up on the screen right now if you guys want to sign up and learn more about Blowfin. So these are the promotions currently going on your screen until July 7th. So depending on how much you deposit and how much volume you have, you can get all of these different things. And I know that these numbers, like $1 million of trading volume, sounds like a lot, but if you trade with leverage at all, that's not too difficult to reach. So thank you to our dev team for throwing that up. Another question here. So individual saying, hi guys, I know that you guys use, Jeremy saying, I've seen you use up to 3 or 4x leverage for the day trading room. For day trading crypto, but how much leverage do you use for things like the mega cap and the altcoin and the hodler? Is there any leverage to use for those within smart money crypto? And lastly, is it possible to copy trade any of you? I'd verified through Blowfin.
Well, first off, I'll answer for the hodler. The hodler, I do not use any leverage. That is a cash account, and it's in Coinbase too, folks. So I've structured it so that I haven't put out limit orders. I will place the market orders so everybody should be able to get filled right when I get filled. I have levels that I set as reminders on the charts so that will trigger entries and exits for us in those positions. But the hodler, we have a couple different angles. We're almost excited when price on crypto is coming down. That gives us an opportunity to accumulate more, because in the hodler service, I'm looking for gains of 50 to 100 to 200% or more before I start taking any bit off the table. Now, within that service, we have the ability to swing trade some of these coins that are not stakeable. And even the ones that are staked, we have currently a little bit of Polkadot that is unstaked. In case of a bounce, we'll likely start taking some of that off too. So there is maneuverability going on in the hodler, but ultimately just stacking and setting up a portfolio so that when the next bull market runs with crypto, should Bitcoin reach into that $200,000 realm, then we will be set up fantastic for massive gains on the hodler. And so it's kind of it's really neat, the number of services that we have to offer in the crypto space, simply because it should be able to check all the boxes for every different type of investor, whether it's one that believes in a certain coin and wants to hang on to it for a long time. I'm doing that service, been swing trading other cryptos, and so is Gareth. So we really have a lot of options there for you, depending upon how active you want to be in the crypto space.
Yeah, and the nice thing is it's all contained under one roof. So you
Mhm.
might not think you want one. You can watch the trading action happen inside of that service that's inside the bigger service. And then if you see the track record, then you trust us, and then you say, all right, well, I guess it's time for me to start utilizing this one as well.
Yep.
Yeah, and you don't use any leverage in your service, right, Ben?
I do not. Nope.
Okay, yeah, we don't use leverage for our swing trades then. Another asking, Apex Live Day Trading Room, is there a discount if you join today? No, but you get a sneak preview today in the afternoon session. We're going to be live taking stock questions and looking for day trades from 1:30 to 4 o'clock. You have saying, do you guys use RSI and volume as well? Yes. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Okay. Crypto related questions. John asking, will Bitcoin hit $170,000 in 2025? Who wants to take this one?
Based on what I'm seeing in the charts, I'm going to go to the daily chart. Based on what I'm seeing in the charts, it's not likely to happen. So here's the chart of Bitcoin. You've tried to make a higher high. You got up to 112,000. You stuttered out, got a little bit of a pullback to 100,000, and then you got it back up to 110,000. We're not able to take out the high of 112,000, and now we're starting to roll over. So here's what I'm seeing. If we drop a little bit further, you're going to get support at 94,000, and then what's really cool is you have this possible M pattern gets down here, and then you create an A. It'll likely go back up to 106,000, and then it'll probably roll over. So if we're continuing to chop on this support area, all this is right at support, basically around 100,000 to 96,000. We start breaking that, then we've got further downside. Now, if we start taking out the highs of 112,000, so it's always a caveat, right? So every single day you get more and more information. So every candle is a new set of information, a new set of either retail investors or Michael Saylors. So if we start breaking the highs and it starts consolidating or getting close to the highs and consolidating, then we could see a breakout. But right now the high is 112,000, right in that area. So you have to have price conviction to pass through that.
So no, it's not going to hit 170,000 this year.
As far as what I'm currently seeing in the charts, no, it's not. It's not likely.
All right. How about you, Drew? Do you share a sentiment?
Bitcoin's just one of those, it's a risk on asset and everything. I agree with Ben. Everything that I see, we have a lot of headwinds in the market. And whenever you're considering crypto investing, it's always important to keep the general market in your mind too. With the headwinds, what I'm talking about, we have tariffs that still yet have really to be finalized. And once those tariffs are finalized, we haven't really seen it roll through the rest of revenue reporting for our companies. And then also we haven't seen the retail spend cut as much as what could be anticipated if these tariffs and when they do get finalized. So we have a lot of components that are still kind of hanging out in the air. So to me, those are all headwinds. And then you throw in this conflict that's just really erupted over the last week, and that's just more uncertainty, right? So the more uncertainty that's out there, the less risk on appetite. But that's a caveat, because look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin's still hanging out over $100,000.
That's right.
So it is staying relatively pretty strong, considering what the horizon looks like. So I just don't see it happening this year, but in future years, I could see that potential being breached. Yes.
Cool. I got a question that I think you're poised to answer, Drew. It's
All
about
right.
your favorite crypto. Jeremy says someone posted about Fartcoin possibly heading towards 70 cents. It's dropped quite a bit. Do you think it's still likely to head to that level, or is it in indecision and more likely to head up or down now?
While I do like this coin, I think Ben may be the expert on this coin, folks. He did put out an article on this just the other day, and so I'm going to pass it on over to you, Ben. What are your thoughts here on Fartcoin USD?
Well, here's a trend line. I actually wrote an article on it, similar to what I was talking about with Bitcoin, right? Fartcoin had a lot of support at 97 cents. Now that it's broken this, what you're looking for is price consolidation. Here's the 200 moving average, by the way, which it had a nice bounce on. So if we get more consolidations sideways, and again, it comes with the timing period. Right now, it's an immature bear flag, but in the next 3, 4, 5 days, if we see sideways consolidation, then yes, absolutely, it will head lower. And the next level, look at this support. See this big red bar candle followed by a green bar candle? This gives you an identifies that there's buyers or there's sellers who got whipped out, and then a bunch of buyers who then rip this thing higher. So this is going to be the next support. This would be possibly a swing trade long level on Fartcoin.
Gotta let my son know. Yep.
Yeah. So what would negate this, right? Because we have this upsloping trend line. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth hit broke down. If we can retrace back above this downsloping trend, this upsloping trend line, then you're likely to go higher. So same with Bitcoin, right? Every single day we get additional information on this. So right now it's in a downtrend. If we can continue lower, 73, but if we start pushing up, recapturing that upsloping trend line, then it's going to negate that and is likely to go higher.
Okay. Thank
right,
you,
folks.
Ben. Jack says, no question. Just wanted to say thank you. I watch every day. Truly special stuff. What you all do for the public. Take care. Okay. Before I take any more questions, guys, any updates on potential day trades here?
Yeah, here, let me show you what I'm looking at for my coin just real quick. Here we go. We got Blowfin loaded up. As I mentioned, I wanted a pierce of that 17. Price is starting to come down a little bit more. We're starting to catch a little support right here at 17.13. So if we get a pierce of 17 cents, you see my order right here. Got 20,000 shares sitting at 16.9 cents on Poly. That's in the futures also. on Blowfin. So I'm sitting here, look for a moment that we were about to excel, pierce this recent afternoon low pivot. So just a couple pennies away, but still sitting there. What about you, Ben? How you looking on yours?
So I was looking at movement, and it is starting to head a little bit higher now. The markets seem to have caught a little bit of a bid. It still needs to go higher in order for me to get interested. It looks like actually like it might be breaking or ready to start breaking out to the upside. So here's the trend line that I have on the 1-minute charts. Low pivot, support 1347, and then 1350, and then here at 1413, and then it did break below, got all the bears on board, push it higher, pierced it again right here at 1470. So now it's recaptured this upswing trend line. So now it actually favors a move higher. So if I am interested, I would be interested in shorting it at 1560 at this level, this red bar candle. Let me reset this. And then an add level would be at 16090, about that area. So I'm not interested in going long, even though it is breaking up. But again, 1560 would be the first shortable level on MOVE.
Cool. All right, let's go back here. LeVar asking you, was there going to be a sale on smart money stocks and ETFs? No, not right now. And guys, if you're having any trouble watching our stream or it's a little blurry, you can go ahead and click that gear box at the bottom corner of your screen and make sure your quality is set to the highest quality. So Keith saying, can you give me an idea of allocation amount? For example, 100K portfolio, what's your minimum, maximum scaling in? That depends on if you're talking about day trading, swing trading, what service, whether you're talking about something like Ben's altcoin, Edge, Garrett's mega cap, or Drew's hodler. So I need some more, a little bit more information from you. Vihab saying says, can you share details on the hodler service? What is it? How much does it cost? I feel like you answered that, Drew. But
Yeah, well, we can go over a little bit of some of the details again, because again, it's an all-encompassing service that what Ben touched on, and really, it's a monthly service that includes Gareth's trades, Ben's trades, as well as my trades, and we have our own specialty, our own niche, if you will, of what we're trying to accomplish within those services. So the hodler, very much as the name describes, it's a service where I'm buying and holding these coins whenever they do, in essence, become on discount, when they have price get reduced. I'm buying and holding these coins for the long term. I also have an angle in the hodler where I target some coins that have a decent staking percentage. I'm not going to get into any one of the coins just because it's got a 10+% APY. I will likely target those coins when they come into some good support levels, and if they have good utility for functionality within that crypto space. So there's a couple different ways that we do work the hodler, but mainly with staking, and then also playing support and resistance on significant coins, always trying to accumulate more when that price goes down. And Ben, if you want to touch on your services, you can there too.
So what I do is I wait for support and or resistance levels and look for 15, 20, sometimes even 30% moves, and then wait for additional support resistance levels and for like other bounces or pullbacks.
Cool, yeah, and I think a lot of people are interested in this service. Alex is asking if he's the only, yep. Drew is the only trader in the hodler service.
That's right. And we've got 3 of us, as I said, and it's all for $85 a month. So you're getting basically 3 different services for $85 a month.
Yeah, sounds like a steal to me. Let's see here. Let me see this.
While you're pulling that up, I'll just also add in the hodler service. I started this year with $25,000 in my account, and I add $1,500 to the account every quarter, much like to mirror not necessarily a retirement account, but if any individual was wanting to invest in crypto for the long run, and they have another job, they likely are going to be adding some capital to that portfolio. And so we're trying to mirror that here at Verified Investing with my service, the Hodler. So I started with 25K and have added 15 every quarter. And then, we've also had some decent gains in there already that we've taken profits on, but all the while still sitting on a lot of USDC, because USDC does provide some great APY, over 4%, just sitting there on the sideline waiting for opportunities.
Cool. All right. So Clint is asking, if I've done the winning trader series, how will mastering the overnight trade sleeper hold add to my skill set and trading tools?
What it's going to do, it's going to illuminate trading opportunities for you that you may not have recognized by taking the winning trader series. One of the reasons I created the overnight trade sleeper hold was it was going to be an addition to day trading. You can find these patterns going towards the close of the day. And so you already have a great wealth of information about time count, support, resistance, fib retraces, etc. You can utilize those by identifying the patterns that I highlight in that course to take a trade at the close of the day and then close that trade out at the beginning of the following day. Or you can also use those elements that I teach in there for swing trading. If you back out onto the weekly time frame, everything that I teach in that course highlights and identifies areas to start taking swing trades on different stocks when the patterns present themselves, as I've discussed in those courses. So it's really taking the winner trader series, elements taught in it, and almost kind of taking it to the next level. I know we've called it winner trader series light, but it's taking it to the next level to say, hey, here's an identifying mark that has the probabilities for you to get into this trade now. And it's areas to capitalize on gains anywhere from, it depends on the time frame that you're looking at, because it can really work on the daily and weekly, as I mentioned before, but then also on the 10-minute, it works too. So if you're day trading and you're in a position and say it goes against you, and then you see that sleeper hold pattern emerge, that gives you the confidence to say, man, this is a great setup. Not only was I right at this level, even though it's piercing a little bit, now I've got an additional factor showing me the setup that is taught during that course. It's likely to start moving in my direction in the very near term. So you can utilize it on day trading, swing trading. But since you already have been educated, you understand the fractals of the time frames that we discuss when viewing charts and how powerful they are to use a consistent method to identify these patterns and take advantage of them.
Cool. Thank you, Drew. Nura says, I'm not interested in crypto. What percentage of trades, non-crypto, are in the Apex live day trading room? The live day trading room is 100% stocks and ETFs, zero crypto, unless it's a crypto-based ETF.
Correct.
Victor says, is the afternoon session later today only stocks? Yes. Xavier says, I see you don't use SMA or EMA. Why?
Well, I do use SMA. I don't use EMA. Many of the reasons I don't have it displayed on my chart is I like to try to keep my chart clean. So if I just flip over from Ben's chart to mine, you can see here I'm looking at Polygon, and you don't really have anything, right? I've got an indicator here showing we've got a daily bottoming tail right here at 15 cents, and I don't have anything else. However, I still do keep the SMAs tucked away over here. And you can see mine displayed on the daily with the 20 is yellow, the 50 is blue, and the 200 is red. I like using those three SMAs, and I mainly use those SMAs for swing trading and understanding trends, understanding when price is breaking through, what happens when the 20 moving average gets above this 200 moving average, and then the corresponding crosses too. I use that whenever I'm analyzing charts to determine whether or not a swing on trade is going to be effective and have the right probabilities. But it's not one of the first and foremost methods I leave on my chart, mainly because I want to identify patterns that I've trained myself to identify first, and then I'll add that on for further support or at least reinforcement of my thesis.
Yeah, just because you don't see it on our charts doesn't mean we're not actively using it. A lot of times the charts that you see are the charts we're putting up are meant so they're easy for you to digest and understand, right?
One thing I found too, the more And believe me, that if you can find a number of tools that work effectively for you, use those tools to trade with. But then I found if I get too many of them, especially if I put them all on the screen at once, it really distorts what I can see, and I've trained myself from finding the patterns. So I like to only have maybe one, two, at max maybe three indicators going at one time on my screen, and that includes simple moving averages, RSIs, things like that. Is because too much will actually cause paralysis with my analysis. And so I want to make
Well, I
sure.
like that. I like that.
I mean, it's true, right? Like I'll end up just sitting
That's
by
right.
and letting a trade go by, and I miss it just because I got too much stuff on my chart. So while they're very vital, I recommend honing in on a few. The more of them you have in your toolbox, the better of a trader you're going to be. But you just don't want to use all the tools on the job at one time. Then that wouldn't make too much sense.
Gotcha. Again, guys, I see a bunch of questions here about stocks. We're only answering questions about cryptocurrency right now because we're trying to find a cryptocurrency day trade. Can I get an update on that, guys? Anything?
Yeah, we're getting close here, guys. We're now within striking distance. You see price on Polygon on the futures coming down, almost about to pierce the 17-cent area. I'm sitting here still at 16.9 cents. Right here, as you see in this green line. What's great
And
about
how heavy are you going to go?
I'm doing 3 times leverage, and I'm doing a 1/10 position of my account, which is equating out to 20,000 shares of Polygon.
Oof.
Okay, so let's
All
see
right.
if we can get this trade. Let's see if we can get this. It looks like it's getting close here.
Yep, very close. But here's part of the discipline too. We can have, if I just rush into this, my level could eventually be tagged, and then I'd be sitting in a position that's worse, right? With a worse average. If I miss the trade, that's okay. Again, in this situation, Ben and I discussed, we've already seen a significant bounce up from Saturday and Sunday's trading action on the crypto space. But it's not been big enough to start initiating shorts. I'd rather be still buying any of these dips, which is why you see me right here buying in this position. But again, it's not stretched. They're not really stretched. So this isn't going to be a massive play on a day trade. More important that I remain disciplined and wait for my level to get hit rather than just rushing in because I see a little double bottom that we recently tagged on this 15-minute chart.
That's great use of discipline there. Great job. How about you, Ben? Is yours close?
Movement 1560 is still my level on movement. You've got this pivot high red bar candle. 15604 is my level. So it just broke out of this. It just hit the pivot top, pulled back slightly. Now it's likely to move higher, possibly get up to the 15604. And just a little bit higher is the 786 fib retracement of this move. So what I did was I took fib extension tool, took this pivot high, 16087, drew it down to the low pivot at 1408. And so this would be a 786 fib retracement right above 1560. So this would be my first level. And then I've got an add level at possibly the 886, but really I'm targeting 1608 for an additional add level. If it decides it wants to go higher, it'd be about a 3% move on movement. So that's where I'm looking to get in. I've also got this other down sloping trend line. If you switch over to the daily chart, you've got additional resistance. Let me see. And again, I have all these other lines drawn on my charts. Don't pay any attention to those. But what I'm looking at is this down sloping trend line. Connect this pivot right here at basically 20 cents and then 1774. And then so if it gets up to 1658, that would be an additional level of resistance because it's the third hit. And then we can get a nice pullback. Now, if you're going long on movement, if it gets back down to 1171, that's where I'm picking up movement for a longer term play to the upside.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, and for those of you who are new here, we go live. Actually, we do this actually every single Monday, believe it or not.
That's right.
At the same time from 11:30 to around 12:30. Vibab saying, great session so far, guys. Looking forward to getting towards it. Can you accept crypto payments in USDT for services offered? Not currently. That's something we've definitely talked about internally as a team, but not currently. Gary saying, will this event be available to review again? Yes, after the event has concluded, we'll re-upload them on YouTube. So make sure to recheck the Verified Investing YouTube channel to check that.
We're getting pretty close, Lawton. We're now trading on Polygon under 17 cents.
All right, let's get a trade here. I know you guys have your questions, but let's see if we can't get a trade here. Again, we're going long POL Polygon, and we're using about 10% of our portfolio here, using 3 times leverage.
Oof. There we go. That's what I'm saying.
Come on down to the price is right.
The symbol for Polygon is POL USDT. You can see that on his chart on the upper left-hand corner, POL USDT.
And that, right there too. You can see that's on the 15-minute chart. There's a 5-hour, 4-hour. What's so cool too, and we'll see if I get filled. But once you're filled on Blowfin, it'll have another box very similar to this. I can just drag my take profits up or down, or stop loss if I choose. So it's really easy to function with on a day trading platform for trading crypto.
Yeah, and the cool thing is there's no confirmation needed. As soon as you drag it and it hits, you're out. You don't have to say accept. I know on TradingView, oh, you created this new take profit level. Would you like to accept it? Yes, please just do it.
So yeah, guys, we're about to get into this trade. If you want to hop in with us, make sure to scan that QR code. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to catch this one right away, but if you want to be able to trade long and short on cryptocurrency futures, just like the pros, you can go ahead and scan that QR code and unlock up to $5,000 in a futures bonus by using that QR code. Thank you again to Blowfin for sponsoring us. Ray is asking, is there a dividend stock service? Yes, it's in smart money stocks and ETFs, but this is focused on cryptocurrency. I know I see a bunch of questions here, but we're just trying to get in this trade. Ronak says, for those newcomers in doubt, I can only say to join the services. You won't regret it, and not only will you make money, you will learn, and some good jokes will come your way to break the. Yep.
I'm assuming he's talking about my dad jokes.
Some of the best around, my man.
Yeah, some of the best jokes and some of the worst jokes.
Well, I mean, we kind of got to break the ice a little bit, right? Because trading's not necessarily without emotions or without stress, right?
Yeah.
We do our best to limit the emotions and stress, but it is very nice to have Ben's sense of humor and Lawton's sense of humor on here too. So very nice.
Yep. Let's see here. Peter saying, do you recommend the sleeper hold without seeing the Winning Trader series? Sorry, I was having a stroke.
Yeah, the way I framed it, I had some elements in there. So if someone was a beginner, hadn't taken the Winning Trader series, they'll still be able to absorb and learn an awful lot because of the way I structured it. At the very beginning, I even explained something as simple as you see our charts here. We've got candlesticks, and one of my elements there and part of the module, I explained very elementary how these candlestick patterns work, because I figured there's a lot of beginner investors that have utilized maybe Robinhood or watch CNBC and see a lot of these line charts, right, and line graphs. We as technical traders, those line graphs really don't give me that much information, especially information to enact on. So the candles is where we derive a lot of that information, especially with time. So yes, you will gain an awful lot of knowledge to understand and get yourself well on the way to becoming an efficient technical trader. Simply because of the element of time and understanding how they work. What I'd recommend you doing, being in a beginner trader situation, take this and see, guys, we're getting closer here, almost filled. but take the courses multiple times. So if you buy any one of our courses, whether it be the winning trader or overnight mastering the overnight trade, the sleeper hold, plan to take the courses at a minimum of 3 times. First time, maybe just watch it through without any notes. Second time, jot down notes. And then the third time, listen to it again and really let it absorb into you as far as the information, because there's going to be a lot of information you're going to be learning. And then the more you hear it, the more it will become ingrained in you, because when you need to utilize this information, you can't push a pause button on the price action and the charts. You need to be able to access that. And here we're almost filled, guys, almost filled. But you need to access that information and use
In
it
real time.
in real time. Exactly. Exactly.
Cool. Let's see if we get filled here.
Come on, baby. So close.
I see some questions. Here about stocks. Again, I appreciate the questions, Andy, about AMD and NVIDIA, but we're talking about crypto. It's just a crypto session right now. You can go ahead and come back around 11:30 and we can
1:30. Come back at 1:30.
1:30, excuse me.
Yep. So movement is off of the table right now. It got within 0.5% of where our entry was going to be, maybe a little bit more than 0.5%, and it's already pulled back 3%. So here's the chart on movement. After it broke this high, I was anticipating a move higher, 15,604, but has since pulled back from that level. So unfortunately, that's off the table. Looks like it just got the bulls on board. So I saw in the questions that somebody was asking, why don't I just go long instead of long into the resistance instead of waiting for the resistance and then entering the trade? And so let me just answer that. So
That's
here's
a
a
good
trade.
question. That's a good
Yeah,
question.
it's a great question. There is no guarantees in trading. Something that's up 30%. So here movement was already up 30%. Is there resistance at 15,604? Absolutely. 100%. This is why I was going to get in this trade. But this would be chasing the stock, saying, all right, well, because it broke out of this level, I could have gotten in, and then all of a sudden now I'm out of the money. Because this is up 30%, how low can this go? Well, if it breaks this upslope trend line that connects this pivot low, pivot low, pivot low, breaks down, then it's going to run into this one. Then when it breaks down, you're probably coming down to 14,177. So I would rather attack it when it's overly extended to the upside and get it at 1506, where I know that there's resistance there. And so that increases the likelihood that I'm going to get into a successful trade. It increases the odds. It doesn't guarantee it. However, that's the psychology that we do. We are inverse traders. We are not go with the trend traders.
Cool.
All right, folks. Let me show you something that is a little disappointing, but this is what happens in trading too. Oops. There we go. There we go. All right. You see here, I've been sitting down at 16.9 cents. Price action there, just on this candle, got down to 16.906 cents. It missed me by, what is that, 6/1000ths of a penny. But unfortunately, sometimes that's the way trading is. And I'll back, if I could, add something to what you answered there, Ben. I thought the same thing as a beginner trader. When I got on here to this service and I heard levels shouted out like, hey, Google at 100, Meta at 200, or, and whether we're shorting or longing, and prices say a couple bucks away from those levels, I would think, why not just short it into that level and then go long at that level? That's really what's called threading the needle, right? The probabilities are in our favor at those levels that we call out. The probability of a bounce higher, or if you're shorting it, of price hitting resistance and going lower. So that's when the odds are in your favor. At any given moment, prices on the chart, you can look at it as in the odds. Like there may be a 20% chance it goes up and hits that level directly, or maybe a 30% chance. But once it hits that level, there's around an 80% chance of a pullback. So what side do you want to put your money on? You know, the price, that's basically what it boils down to. We're odds makers in probabilities based on technical analysis. So I've been guilty at the beginning time when I traded to, you know, with say guys said, hey, the shorting level's at 200 and price right now is at 193. I have been guilty just saying, all right, let me see what happens if I just buy it right here at 193. And I've been lucky. Most all those times it's gone up pretty close, and then I sell it before the level. But that doesn't guarantee. And again, I was taking a lower odds probability chance and basically exposing myself to more risk. So it really becomes a risk versus reward scenario in that situation.
And I think a lot of times it comes down to where the stock is at, or where the altcoin is at, or where Bitcoin's at in the cycle of things. When, like when I was showing you guys movement, it was already up 30%. It wasn't on at its all-time highs. It wasn't breaking out of its all-time or its recent highs. It still had a ways to go to get up there, but it wasn't at its lows. And so for me, there just wasn't enough of an edge or an advantage. I wanted it to get up to the 786 fib retracement or pretty close to it. So that way, at least I knew that there was a decent enough pullback that when it had a rebound effect. So it's extended to the upside, hits that 786, and then it can pull back, right? And so that's kind of what we're looking for.
If you notice here on the chart too, I did lower my entry just ever so slightly because it missed me so close. And still yet, let's see the low here, 16,967. The low 16.9. Okay, so if we come down 16.867, that's where I'm sitting now. I lowered it just ever so slightly because we did get a little bounce right here. Let's see if selling pressure continues. We're now only 0.03 cents out of being filled. So let's see if this patience and adjustments pays off as we're getting closer to being filled, folks.
Okay, while we wait to see if you get filled there, a couple more questions. People want me to throw that.
Right, boom, just got filled.
Okay.
16.87 cents long, 1/10 position. You can see here right now the calculation is basically flat. Now we're down $2 on this trade. Next ad for this is going to be about 1% lower. So I simply pull this down right around 1%. You notice how these pivots are right here down at the bottom end of price action before it bounced up. So right around 16,675, I will put another order of 20,000 shares.
Okay, awesome. Finally, some excitement in the chat. So a couple more questions about Bluefin. Pavlina says, Bluefin question, do you need a minimum of 25K deposit to do day trading on Bluefin? No, you can trade with anything, even $50. Robert says, I thought someone mentioned you don't need a VPN for Bluefin, but Bluefin is not invading the US. How are you guys accessing? We are not on VPNs. We are in the United States, but we're also in Florida. So depending on what state you are, you may need a VPN to access it. But we're
always check with your local
Yeah.
restrictions and local authorities on stuff like this, right? Don't just take our word for it.
Yep.
If you're in another country, in another state, you got to do what's right for you.
Yep.
Correct.
But we're in the United States and we're accessing it
In
without
Florida.
the use of VPN.
Correct.
Robin saying, is the overnight trade course only for stocks but also crypto? Anything with a chart?
Yep. Anything that can be charted.
How do you do your trade alert process in Smart Money Crypto? You'll see an order when we buy or sell something. It'll give our exact entry, our target, our stop loss, and the percentage of portfolio we are allocating to that specific trade.
We basically try to take the guesswork out of it for you.
Yeah. Yes, Bluefin is the only platform we use. Again, if you guys missed that QR code, I'm going to throw it down below. It's right there. It's covered up a little bit, but you can scan that QR code and get in on the action with us. This is cryptocurrency, so it makes sense that you can't trade it with Fidelity or Robinhood.
Not yet.
Right. So the markets are getting a little bit weak right now.
Yes.
Bitcoin is down under 101,000. Now it's trading at 100,500. Interesting. Nita is asking, which course do you recommend for beginners? I would start with any of them. They're all really beginner friendly. They're all standalone courses. You could tie a couple of them together, but I know Drew's course specifically goes over support and resistance, and that is what you need to know in every single course, no matter what you take. Support and resistance are the bloodline of how we trade in all the smart money stocks in ETF, or all the smart money services, including the live day trading room. So support and resistance is king. Every single one of our methodologies stem from support and resistance and the Winning Trader series.
Yep. And I'll back that up by
Yes.
saying I've got another trade educational series in the hopper that does go over a lot of beginning elements to technical analysis. I think, our courses are fantastic, but there's a lot of questions I had to work through on my own. How to work with my brokerage? How do I divide up my accounts? Where do I spread my money to put myself in the best situation to achieve success? Elements where there's certain ways to set up your accounts that would have saved me tens of thousands of dollars had I done this when I started. And really, I found no information helping me set it up this way online. And so I put together a beginner course that we should start filming within the next month or so. So it should be out within, I'd say, 2 to 3 months. So check back for that. We should have one that's specifically designed for beginner traders.
Yeah, that's excellent.
And people are asking for the code again, so I'm gonna leave this code up now for you guys. It's on there right now. Please, you can scan it. Jennifer, Edward, hopefully you guys can scan this and get in on the action. Matt says, does Bluefin work with all major brokers? It is a cryptocurrency exchange, right? So it's its own kind of brokerage, but specifically for cryptocurrency. So I see a bunch of questions here about some stocks, but we're going to focus on this trade. Okay, one more time for us. Drew, can you talk about how you found this great level?
Sure. So if you go on to Polygon, you can see that price action here clear this, on the 10-minute. You can see price action went up and created this pivot. Then we had price action come back up and created this next pivot. And this area right here, which is right around 17, and price is coming down under it, but it also corresponds right here with some of this support area where price just came from. So all of this chop is interim support on Polygon. Now, you got to keep in mind, as we discussed and prefaced this, we really have seen the bounce in most of the markets, except for Polygon, occur yesterday, because we kind of bottomed out and then started bouncing up. This stock was kind of left behind and also has a daily bottoming tail backing it up over here. So there's a lot of support, even if price continues lower. So I had a couple different factors showing me that, yes, we're coming into an area of support, but then on the daily chart too, we have daily support with a daily bottoming tail right here. And how those usually work is price likes to retrace that bottoming tail down to 16.5 cents. That's what we did yesterday. So this area that we're in on Polygon is support on the charts, at least for the time frame. Now, we could always pound that area of support and pound it. The more times you hit that area of support, the weaker it becomes, and then the probabilities shift for a breakdown beneath. And then on top of that too, look down here at the bottom of the chart. You see this RSI. The RSI is now under 30. So with a daily RSI under 30, now it can go and stay under that 30 area for an extended period of time, but that's showing on the charts that we are oversold in the near term on Polygon. So a lot of those factors all aligned up to give me the opportunity to go ahead and take this as a long trade.
Cool. Awesome.
And you see here, my next add to this is right down here at 16,675. That's where I'm going to have my next add, 20,000 shares. That's going to bring down our average roughly to current price, and be expecting about a 1% bounce up on this. I know we're actually Yep, we're right up against the end of the show. So that's what I'll leave it with you with today, folks. And so we'll flip this over to the daily time frame. And if we do have a daily close underneath this here, this low pivot, this daily time frame pivot, that is at 15.2 cents. So I would be adding to this again. So let's go back in here. So and we'll make it a little bit more conservative since we're not going to be guiding you along on this journey. You can see here, this pivot here, 16.22 cents. So basically a close under 16.22, I will stop out. But as you see with this ad, I do have an ad level here at 16.675. I will pull down another ad level. So I would have 3/10 of my position right under 16.5 cents. And I'll do 20,000 shares there too.
So that would be on a 1 minute time frame, close below a 5 minute, a 10 minute. What are you thinking? 15 minutes?
I'm thinking an hourly close beneath that area of 16.
An hourly close. Okay.
Hourly close. Yep. So you see here, I'll have another order about 1% lower. And then for the last order, just so you guys jot this down for any sort of folks that are following along in the trade and interested in taking it too, this is going to be my last ad with an hourly close and be looking for about 1 to 2% on gains for this. Okay. So we've got the next ad, and this we're having to map it on out. Normally we would do this step by step, but since the show is about to end, I want to at least lay it out all for you here so that you're able to see my thought process on the potential ads right there. Now, current take profit is right up here at 33.80. Should we get filled here, that will bring our average roughly at 16.76, and then I'll be looking for a move up of 1% from that average. Does that make sense to everybody? Anybody got any questions before we get off?
Well, we actually have.
I just want to say
we actually have to switch over to our next segments.
Yeah.
So
and guys, we're going to be live at 1:30 for the live day trading room. If we're still in this trade, we'll come and revisit it.
Yeah.
We'll come back and revisit it. But thank you guys for joining us.
Yeah, you guys take care. Thank you guys so much for being a part of this, and we'll see you guys in the next section.
Bye,
Sounds
guys.
like a plan, guys. We'll see you in the next one.
See you later.